Story 1. AITA for banning my friend from using my pool because of what she said. 11 years ago, my 34 sister/brother-in-law/dad died, leaving me guardian to my 2 nieces, then 5 and 3. My dad left me his house, so we moved there. The kids settled in the school quickly and made friends. This woman, Susan, 45 female, was particularly good at making sure the kids and I were included in events, but she seemed a bit off. She kept telling me how lucky I was to have such a nice house. I pointed out that I only inherited it as 3 members of my family died, but she laughed and called me sentimental. She also loved to organize events at my pool, but she always made out that she was the host, taking charge, making me feel like a stranger in my own house. Our youngest daughters share a birthday, so they generally share a pool party. 6 months ago, my boyfriend, Rick, 35, moved in. I've known him as a friend since before my sis died, and the girls think of him as their favorite uncle, but we recently got together. A few months after he'd moved in, Susan texted me saying there were rumors about Rick and my oldest Eve, now 16. Susan said he'd acted inappropriately towards Eve. I asked Eve about her day. When she realized there'd been gossip, she burst into tears saying she hated this village as no one wanted you to be happy. She said as they walked down the high street, he'd given her a side hug and kissed her on the top of her head. She said it made her feel like she had a dad for the first time in her life, and now the moment was ruined. Susan texted me later asking what I'd done, and I told her to drop it, but she kept texting me, saying I was too young to see how he was manipulating me. She suggested he was grooming my daughter. I told her to stop again, but she didn't, so I blocked her number and unfollowed her on all social media. Other friends sent me screenshots of where she'd posted to friends that he was a threat to children, and I was an enabler. Then a few days ago, I bumped into Susan. She was all smiles, telling me which dates suited them best for the party, and how all the village were looking forward to it. I said that due to COVID, no pool parties were happening, and even if there were, surely as a mother she wouldn't want her kids to attend a gathering where a threat to children and his enabler were present. She said she didn't know what I meant. I said I could show her some screenshots if it would help. She said how much her daughter was looking forward to it, that I'd be selfish if I didn't let it go ahead. I said she should have thought about that before spreading false rumors. I said if my girl invited hers over, that was fine, but Susan was never to step foot on my property again. Afterwards, she posted something on the community Facebook page about selfish incomer witches. It got taken down, but not before her friends left nasty comments. One of them texted me saying, I should be nicer considering the circumstances, but I don't even know what that means. Anyway, I don't think I've been unreasonable, but clearly half the village think I'm the a-hole. Am I? Now for the top comments. I talked to an attorney about slander. This kind of rumor can be dangerous. We're thinking about that. But thank you. I think you should really consider it. These charges could become very serious and hurt both your niece and your boyfriend. If you are ahead of it, you can make sure the damage is minimal. This woman has already shown she doesn't care how far she has to go. Rick is reticent to do anything. He thinks it's minor village gossip involving a few hundred people, and if we start legal issues it will escalate. It's his call, but I'm not sure he's right. I just want people to see him as the loving man he is, not through her warped vision of things, not the a-hole. Those kinds of rumors can destroy a person's life. Clearly the niece said it was not done in a sexual manner, that she didn't feel uncomfortable, etc., and was fine. This outsider decided to stir drama up and wanted to reap the benefits still. She hurt your niece with gossip and could have harmed an innocent man's reputation because she couldn't ask a question or be adult about it. She also started drama on social media for it as well. It's total BS. You've every right to ban someone like her. If the wrong person heard her unjustified rumors, it could have done a lot of damage. Not be a whole, steer clear of Susan and her drama. There is no winning with her, and she will just drag you and the kids through the mud. You did a good job ending things. Keep those boundaries up. Thank you, I was shaking after. I hate conflict. Update, well, that blew up. Thank you for the awards, I really appreciate them. I'm trying to go through all the comments, but sorry if I don't reply. 1. Rick and I will get legal advice, and then decide what to do. 2. Friends seem to think Susan has damaged herself more than me. People have always given her leeway as she does do loads in the village, and she is married to a total crap. But her post about incomers has offended loads of people, anyone who wasn't born here, and stirred up lots of ill feelings. 3. For those of you who say we should move, I have thought about it. But we can't really for 2 years until we get to a good point in the girls' schooling. It's under consideration. 4. I'm going to message the one who told me to be nicer considering the circumstances, because I genuinely don't get what she means. 5. For those asking about my use of village, in the UK that's what we call places smaller than towns. Not sure what the precise geographical definition, you just know. It's not that usual to have an indoor pool in the UK, so I think that's why she's so obsessed with it. 5. I have thought about sending her a picture of me in the pool, drinking a cocktail with a raised finger, but I think I would be the a-hole then, and it's probably not worth the hassle. Story 2. AITA for telling my dad to swallow his freaking pride and go to a food bank. My 17 female, mom, 33 female, she had me at 16, left shortly after my little sister too was born. I also have a 5-year-old brother and a 3-year-old sister. We haven't heard from her since. My dad, 34 male, owned a small business that went under a few months ago due to the shutdowns, and has had trouble finding a job since. Right now, he's working 2 minimum wage jobs to try to support us, but that barely covers the mortgage and our car payments. I ended up dropping out of high school, so I can take care of my siblings and get a job. I got a great job as a nanny, and they're letting me bring my siblings since they're the same age as the kids, 5 male and 3 female. I've been paying for all of our health care. I have ulcerative colitis and my brother has type 1 diabetes, so that stuff is expensive. My car and half our food bill and any clothes that my brother and sister need, and occasionally some new toys for them. I know for a fact that we qualify for financial aid at the hospital we go to, and maybe SNAP benefits or food banks. It would make things so much easier on all of us. My siblings and I don't eat healthy. Most of what we eat are those bulk bags of cereal at the grocery store and dollar store pasta with beans or sometimes eggs or meat. It's gotten to the point where the family I work got started giving us all their leftovers so we can eat somewhat healthy. I talked to my dad about financial aid at the hospital, and he actually agreed to it. But when I brought up SNAP benefits or going to food banks, he completely shut the idea down. He kept saying he doesn't need help getting us food, and he survived without food stamps when he was our age, so we should too. I lost my temper and yelled at him, swallow your freaking pride and go to a food bank, because 2 crap meals a day isn't cutting it. He yelled at me to go to my room, and now we're not speaking to each other. Am I the a-hole for yelling at him? Edit, I'm not calling CPS on my dad, so y'all can stop suggesting that. He's trying his best. I sent my dad the post. He finally came to his senses, and we're going to start applying for benefits tonight. For those of you asking about my education, I'm planning on getting my JED in May and starting community college in the fall. Not the a-hole. Things ain't normal, and he's under a lot of stress. Likely hates feeling you already had to drop out of school, and that he's not cutting it as a man. But he's got to get past it, and maybe this was the kick in the butt he needed. Edit, so proud of you and your dad for taking one hard step after another. Glad he decided to accept some help. Wish you both the best. He's let her drop out of school to be a co-parent and refusing to take assistance. That's such BS. I feel really sorry for. But she needs to tell Dad she's going back to school if he's such a proud man and can do it himself. Yikes. Not the a-hole. You're right, it's just his stupid pride. You're sacrificing a lot for your family right now before you're even a legal adult. The least you deserve is some decent meals. I'm heartbroken for any parent in the situation he's in. But he needed to have it pointed out to him that it's pretty silly for him to think that letting his kids go without food/nutrition and education leaves him with more pride than using the social safety nets that he pays into out of each paycheck. He's making life harder for all of his kids, especially unnecessarily. Not the whole. The social safety net exists for a reason. Plus, the pandemic is still going on. Things will be different when we are past all this, and he might be able to find what he needs in terms of work. And hopefully you can return to school. You've put your whole future on hold for your family. You're risking more than his pride is worth. I'm planning on getting my JED and going to college to be a nurse practitioner once things calm down. Story 3. AITA for continuing my tradition of taking my kids out to dinner, even though I remarried and have stepchildren. I'm 36 years old and a father of 2. My kids are 15 and 13. I was high school sweethearts of sorts with their mother, and it was just your common case of 2 kids getting married way too young and not knowing what everything entailed. All in all, we divorced by the time I was 28. My ex and I are on good terms, and we do a nice job at co-parenting, even though we are not together. I live 2 towns over from her, about a 15-minute drive, so the kids stay with me every Friday to Monday. 4 years ago, I met my current wife. We got married a year and a half ago, and now she and her 2 kids live with me. Her boys are 9 and 7. I get along with her kids, and I try to do all I can for them since their dad isn't a great guy. The house sometimes gets a little crowded when my 2 kids are over, but mine spend a lot of time in their rooms. Since my kids were little, I've always enjoyed taking them out to eat every other Friday. It's a tradition I've continued since. My kids really enjoy this time together, and it really helped us all deal with the divorce. Now that I'm remarried and sometimes get busy, these dinners aren't always on Friday, nor are they as frequent as every other week, but once or twice a month, I make sure my kids and I go out to eat. My wife has always been cool with it, at least until somewhat recently. To be clear, I go out to eat with my wife and the 4 kids a lot. Usually once a weekend, and then dinner Monday through Thursday is always with my wife and her 2 boys. My wife started to ask why I still have these dinners that are exclusively with my 2 kids. I told her it's the tradition and my kids and I enjoy the time together. She said since I'm remarried and have stepchildren, there shouldn't be any more me and my kids' dinners. I told her that we all go out to eat together way more frequently than I go with just my kids, and that we go out less than we used to before I got remarried, so I'm compromising a bit. She still insists that it's wrong to take my kids out to dinner where we pretend I don't have a new wife and 2 stepchildren. I don't have a wife and 2 stepkids. Not the whole. That's not what you're doing. It's so important for kids in blended families to feel they are still valued and still get one-on-one time. Especially given the age differences here, teenage children have different topics they care about and need different attention. Doing things with your children from your first marriage alone sometimes does not invalidate the other time you spend with your wife and stepchildren, and she should be understanding that you have multiple priorities since she does as well, not the whole. It's even important to do one-on-one things with your kids in a full bio family. If she is adamant you cut out doing things with just your bio kids, then to make it fair you shouldn't do anything with just your bio kids when yours aren't there. All for one and one for all and all that crap. Not the whole. You already spend plenty of time with your wife and your stepchildren, and you spend time with them plus your 2 bio kids as well. So really what she's asking you to do is stop spending quality time with your bio kids full stop. That's unreasonable. You get plenty of alone time with your stepkids, I'm assuming during the week, but you're not allowed to spend any alone time at all with your bio kids. Your wife is being unreasonable. I would pick this hill to die on. If you choose to stop or phase out your dinners with your bio kids, they will notice, and they will resent you. Don't let her insecurity damage your relationship with them. Yeah, I've figured she might be a little insecure. I don't know why at all. She doesn't seem to love the idea that I've had a family before her, though she does have 2 kids herself. Hi, product of a broken home here. Let me start with not the a hole, not the a hole, not the a hole, not the a hole, not the a hole. You're not being selfish, rude, inconsiderate, a jerk, or anything like that. You're carrying on a tradition that existed previously to maintain a relationship and create a semblance of stability in your kids' lives. You mention you do plenty of things with wife number 2/stepkids every week and quite often with all 4 kids. By her logic, birthdays aren't allowed to happen anymore, or Mother's Day/Father's Day. Don't do anniversaries either. You don't want anyone to feel excluded ever. Everyone has to be included for everything, always. Ha ha ha, thanks. You sound a lot like some people I'm friends with on Facebook. Story 4. AITA for not spending enough time with my kids after my husband died. My husband died a few months ago when a drunk driver hit him. We have 4 kids, a 4th grader, 3rd grader, 2nd grader, and 1st grader. 4 kids is a lot of kids, but together my husband and I managed without needing help outside of the school offered after-school care. Now that it's just me with 4 little ones, I had to hire a nanny to make sure the kids get to after-school activities and grief counseling. I have my dream job. Without giving too many details and identifying myself, my schedule is where I work 10+ hours for a few months. Then I have 2 months or so off. I am always available in the morning and have weekends off. I always make the kids breakfast and drop them off at school. When I'm working, I'm not usually home for dinner. I do meal prep, and essentially all the nanny has to do is pop something in the oven. I try to be home for bedtime. I probably miss 2 or 3 bedtimes a month. But my in-laws have been telling me that I am a bad mom. Now that my husband is dead, I need to be home more. My kids are handling the death pretty well from what I've seen and what their counselor has told me. When I'm not working, I spend as much time as possible with my kids. I plan fun adventures and have game nights and things like that. We have a great relationship. My in-laws want me to quit my job. Financially, I can do that because of life insurance and my saving from my high-paying job, but I don't want to. I love my job, it's very fulfilling, and I'm doing what I dreamed of doing as a kid. I feel I can do that and care for my kids. AITA for not quitting my job and hiring a nanny to help me care for my kids. Not be a hole from your description. It doesn't sound like your kids are suffering from your working lifestyle. Money isn't the most important thing in the world, fulfillment is. Your kids will suffer more if they have an unhappy parent at home versus a hard-working and active parent. Your in-laws are probably still in mourning and looking at a person to put their anger towards, and try to spend one-on-one time with each kid, affected for the 1 night a week, with each kid for half an hour later bedtime, where you do something low-key together, making the next day meal prep, or a puzzle, time to know each other as individuals. The extra half hour before bed is a great idea. I do make sure they get one-on-one time, but I do worry it's not enough. Thanks for the suggestion. If you were their daddy, literally no one would think twice about you going back to your job. Keep that job you love. Keep spending time with your kids. Reconsider the in-laws who are going behind your back to convince your kids you don't love them enough. Not the whole. It's not always quantity, it's quality of time you're spending with your kids. You have to provide for your kids by yourself now. What do your in-laws expect you to do? Quit and be a stay-at-home mom with no one making money? They're being ridiculous, and it sounds like your kids are doing as well as they can be. So sorry for your loss. This, plus below the line, I'm pretty sure she's spending at least as much time with her kids as anyone with a regular job. It's just not in a standard construction.